how different would your life be right this very moment if when you were little, someone showed up and had your back? And not just a little, but like full on. If someone supported your choices, encouraged you to follow your dreams, and let's go even one step further and not say encouraged, but literally paved the way for you, took what you desired and not only held space for you, but also projected out for you what you wanted and helped you lay the path for exactly what you desired. I never really had this level of show up in my life. In fact, growing up, I was lucky some days if anyone even showed up at my house. I grew up in a very interesting situation. My mom was a teenager when she had me. She left home shortly after as she herself was experiencing some abuse from my very angry grandma, who really didn't even know my mom was pregnant, and just a lot of turmoil around the situation. And so, my mom left and she raised me the best she could with the awareness that she had. But let me tell you, it wasn't really very good, right? I mean, she was young. She was, 17 years old, living on her own with a baby, and with no support, right? And so we lived in many different areas growing up, mostly in the heart of Flint. I grew up in Flint, Michigan. And from fifth grade down, I never attended one school for the whole year. We went from homeless shelters to different houses to crack houses. Life was interesting to say the least. But some days, I would return home from school and be in a, unfamiliar area, an unfamiliar house, and no one would be there for days. And, I figured it out. And here I am today to share my story. And now I'm really learning to paint a new one for my kids. Through this process, I'm also really healing and have been healing those deep wounds from growing up feeling not wanted, like I was a burden and like no one cared if I lived or I died. I spent most of my teenage years and my early 20s just out of control. Like, not only did I feel like no one showed up for me, but I literally had no idea how to show up for myself. I just had no awareness of how to even do that. So as I've gone through my awakening, one thing I really wanted to instill in my three daughters is not only that I will show up, but I will show up so hard. I will make sure that I help you to pave the way to choose what they desire. Right? And 100% stand behind what they choose. And let me tell you, over the last few years, I have watched my teenagers grow into strong, confident, beautiful women who know what they desire and they know what that feels like in their body. They understand what the frequency of them is, and they don't allow themselves to get pulled into other people's tornado. They're firm in what works for them. They aren't afraid to vocalize it. Right now I have a 20-year-old, just turned 17, and a 15-year-old daughter. And, you know, making the no rules rule back, 10 years ago now, has really totally transformed everything. And through this energy of really truly showing up and helping them navigate what it is that they desire, and really upholding that space for them and showing them that they can have anything that they want, it's really been a very, very interesting unfolding. I have an experience just recently, just to kind of give some clarity here of exactly what I'm talking about. Like, okay, so, we're in the middle of quarantine right now, right? And we're in Michigan still, so, we are pretty still quarantined at this point. I think things are going to start lifting here fairly soon, but we're in quarantine. And each one of my girls has a different idea of, uh, we talk about what's going on and what's real and what's not, and how to really, be true to you, and how to really, use discernment in as far as what you desire for your body and for your life. And, where my oldest daughter is in one place with how she perceives what's going on and what she wants to choose to do with her body, and you know, with her choices during this time. My oldest daughter has been home frequently throughout this, but my oldest daughter doesn't actually live with me. She's away at college. She actually lives in Chicago, which is about a 5-hour drive from me. So you know, just really giving her the space without telling her you should be doing this and you should be doing that and you should be doing this. You know, when she went home, there was certain things that she did and chose that maybe I wouldn't have done and chose, but it's not my decision. It's not my life. It's, you know, understanding that in order to really truly have someone's back does not mean that you negate them and tell them what to do and choose. It means that you allow them the space to really look at the choices they desire for their lives and what they're going to create and what they feel like, and giving them the space to choose it and supporting them no matter what they choose. Because even if they make a bad choice, even if they decide something that creates something, you know, terrible in their life, not that I desire them to do anything terrible in any way, shape, or form, but if they create something that does something terrible, I want to still be that same space and say, okay, well, that's what you chose and that's what it created. So what can we choose next time to not have that same outcome? Right. And showing up and having their back is really looks like understanding that sometimes they make choices that wouldn't be choices that I would choose, but it's not my life. It's not my decision. It's not, uh, you know, my path to pave. And I know often I hear people say, you know, well, you got to lead children and you have to show them the way. And and I'm going to tell you that, you know, truly, from my personal experience of now having raised children in this environment, the rule way does not work. They have to find these things. You know, I tell clients all the time, I would much rather my children make mistakes when they're 15 at home with me, and we can sort it out and we can talk through about, you know, how to make a different choice next time, and how to really use, you know, your awareness to make sure that, you know, you're making the choice that fully supports the life that you want to live, than just, you know, uh, drill them with rules and rights and wrongs and goods and bads until they turn 18 and then just set them free and let them do whatever they want. I mean, doing this work for as long as I have now, I've realized that, you know, a majority of the people that I work with are 30, 40, 50 years old and don't know how to make a choice for their life because no one helped them. No one guided them. No one supported them when they were little and said, you know, if you make this choice, what's it going to create? Oh, and if it creates something, again, if it creates something terrible, awful, you know, whatever, we'll deal with the energy at that point and we'll learn from it so we don't make that same energy again. So we understand what creates what. And now, you know, being in this place where I have a 20, 17, and a 15-year-old, and they make just the choices that they make are just so expansive and amazing. And it's like, you know, to hear my adult daughter at, you know, 20 years old and call me and tell me that, you know, she quit a job because, you know, someone informed her a new boss came in and said, you know, this is how it's going to be and this is how I work. And she said, yeah, you know, it's not going to work for me. And just being able to say, I can let this go. And I know that I'm confident if I stand in my frequency and my energy, I can find something that works better for me, and not make herself small and stay in an environment that she doesn't desire. And like, she's very clear about who she is. She's very clear about what works for her. She's very motivated in that space. And to watch all of my girls walk in that space, I know that's in part because I've shown up and I've encouraged them to choose things and I've stood by them. Even if it doesn't feel like the choice I quote unquote want them to choose, it's still their choice. And when you show up for someone in that energy, you give them a whole new possibility. Just breathe that in for a moment. Isn't it time that we stop living in this reality of rules and limitations and understand that it's just time to show up and allow people to make choices and decisions for their life and for your life, and heal those spaces and places where it feels like you can't make choices or you're no good at choices. And isn't it time to just show up for you and show up for yourself and have your own back and understand that you are a powerful creator and the choices that you make are not bad and wrong. Now is the time to support yourself through this amazing awakening.